I've just come back from doing 2 school events and there are a lot of questions that kept coming up. So I thought, why not, let's just chat about it on my YouTube. So I've just seen the lovely students at Harris Academy in Greenwich, and then I went on to Rochester Grammar School, and I noted down some of the questions that kept coming up time and time again. One of the questions was, how long was your apprenticeship? My apprenticeship was 15 months long. I was employed at the same time as learning modules on the go by LDN apprenticeships. 15 months flew by. Is your job well paid? I think it totally depends on what you're comparing it to, depends on the hours that you're talking about, and depends the level that you're at, and it also depends on where you actually work as well. Is it creative? 100%. Someone actually asked me, is it actually enjoyable though? And I said, definitely. My job is genuinely very fun. You get a lot of varied things going on in your role. One minute I could be talking to my author and getting her a cup of coffee because she just flew over from Spain to do an event at Hay Festival, and the next minute I'm on my laptop but I'm designing posters to go in stores. It's definitely so creative and so fun. I think that's mainly because I work in marketing, which obviously is the best department, but it is the more creative department. Do you manage anyone? Not currently, but let's see where my career takes me. Not at the moment, we're a small team. What degree/qualification do you need? What degree do I have? 0. I do not have a degree. I didn't go to university. It shocked a lot of the students that I was talking to today. A lot of them were really concerned about what they wanted to do and they had no idea, while others knew exactly what university they wanted to go to and what degree they wanted to study. So it totally depends on, again, what department you want to go into. I kept saying that in publishing there are so many departments that there is something for everyone. If you're more reserved, introverted, like reading and writing, an editorial position might be better suited to you. Whereas for myself, I didn't need a degree because I'm working in marketing, which is more creative, more about trends and social media. Do you have work-life balance? Such a good question, and it was so interesting to see how these questions changed over the last few years in terms of, if I was at school, I definitely would not be asking about work-life balance. And similarly, one of them was, do you work on a hybrid basis, or are you going into the office or working from home? Those questions definitely didn't come up years ago, and I just find it so interesting to see how the priorities have shifted, and even in year 12 students as well, that's what they're concerned about. So work-life balance, it definitely depends on the day of the week. It definitely depends on if I'm doing weekend events and therefore taking the time back in lieu. It depends on the company that you're working for as well and how flexible they are. What are the hours like? They were like, oh, what hours do you have to work? Is it like a normal 9 to 5? And technically my current position is 9 till 5:30. You do have extraneous days where, for example, I'm working a weekend or I'm working a late night because there's an event on, but then normally you can make up the time in lieu. What does your day-to-day look like? This was so hard to answer, and actually I recommended they watch some of my videos because I've got day in the lives there where I tell you a bit about what I'm doing each day. As a result, it's really hard to say because it's so varied. I know that's so cliche to say, like, oh, no day is the same, but it is true. Some day I might be sitting at my laptop and just doing emails all day. One day it might be really meeting heavy. The next day I'm meeting some press and pitching some books to them, and the next day I'm out doing an event, creating some content with some illustrators. What did you do at college? So I didn't go to sixth form, but instead I spent 2 years at college, and I studied a long-winded course called Digital Journalism and Creative Media Communications. In a nutshell, this was media. It was radio, TV, journalism, books, etc. How much do authors get paid? This was so interesting. It was really interesting. I threw it back to them and I said, well, how much do you think they get paid per book? What percentage commission do you reckon they get of the profits? And it was really shocking to see that some of them were like 50%, 60%. Someone was like, I'm going to go rogue and say 25. Someone said 7.5, and I said, you're the closest, because I've got a whole separate video on this on how much authors actually get paid, but usually it's around 10%. Definitely depends on the format in terms of ebook and audio, paperback, hardback, where it's being sold, but check out my other video, I'll link it down below. What job can I do that includes writing? This was quite specific, but it was someone that was really interested in writing and English, and I said, well, editorial was the first thing that comes to mind because you're constantly reading the submissions that come in, but you're also helping them edit it to make it in the best quality and the best standard that it can be. As an editor, you might also be commissioning books, so you might have an initial idea and get an author to help you write it, so it's IP, like intellectual property rights. But also I did say that the other departments as well do a lot of writing, myself included. In marketing, you're writing copy for social media posts, you're writing copy for newsletters, you're writing copy for posters, anything, you're doing writing in that sense as well. So it's definitely quite a writing heavy industry, I would say. Similarly with publicity, you're writing long pitch emails to press. How did you find the apprenticeship? As in, where did I find it? I found it online, and one of the things that I was saying to the students is really to look at job descriptions and read them. Job descriptions are where it lists in bullet points what the job is after, the type of person they want, and what your responsibilities would be. I said just have a Google. Google's your best friend. Look on different websites, apprenticeship websites, but also websites that offer job vacancies such as Indeed, and just have a read of job descriptions. Even if you have no intention of applying to them, have a look, highlight what applies to you, and see where there are some similarities that crop up and see what interests you. And that is essentially what I did. I found it online and I saw the job description and it suited me, and therefore I applied. What helped your application for the apprenticeship? This was so interesting because I mentioned how I didn't have a degree and instead I'd just been to college. I mentioned that skills was probably the most important thing, the fact that I could demonstrate that I had really unique but useful transferable skills. High organisation, event planning, understanding of the industry, anything like that. I've got a whole separate video on the skills you need to get into publishing, which might be helpful if you're interested, but it definitely was more about the skills that helped me in my application. What level was your apprenticeship? My apprenticeship was level 3 and it was provided by LDN Apprenticeships, who I really recommend. Do you actually write the books? Again, this came down to the point that not a lot of people know what publishing is, so they saw these books in front of me and said, oh, did you write all these? No, I do the marketing, so I help promote these books. The people that write the books are the authors. It's definitely a common thing where people say, oh, did you write these books? If you work at publishing, does that mean you write the books and you're an author? No, that's not always the case. I've got a whole video on the different types of roles in publishing as well as how books are made, the publishing process from start to finish. So those were some of the questions that kept coming up for year 10, year 11, year 12s. I hope that might have answered any sort of questions that you had as well that maybe you didn't feel comfortable asking. Maybe you're new to this channel, in which case, hi and welcome. Thank you so much for sticking around. Really do hope you subscribe, learn more about career, publishing, books, marketing, all that stuff. Thanks so much for watching and see you in my next one.